Call the meeting in the order, Oromocto Council and committee meeting. I'm all confused now. Tuesday, 20th of May, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. at the Oromocto Municipal Building. I'll call for a mover for approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Mawini, seconder. Councillor Whalen. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. There's no presentation, so we'll move right down to the monthly departmental reports. We'll start with the planning and compliance report. Any questions or concerns?
I have one question.
Oh, okay. Council Bumlister?
I know it's on the report, I mentioned they had met with, get the name right here. It was a new subdivision in the Oromocto West. Who's the developer? Oh my God. Yeah, Hannah, sorry.
Oh, yeah,
That's very good.
Chris Hannah, yes.
So Hannah, so I remember they met with the group and they were going through the final plans for the subdivision. If I remember right, one of the groups that was here on the night we had the public presentation, one of the existing streets has an existing water problem with runoff and whatnot. I just wanna make sure that that's been covered in these discussions about the ongoing issues and making sure we make it better for the next row. So I was just curious if that was in that discussion group, or do we know that, or?
Well, Dallas is right here, so she can answer that.
Thank you, Richard. I think Council Director.
I don't remember the name of the street, but it's one that.
Yeah, I believe it was Coastal.
Yes.
As that comes over and the way that is ending is the thought that was when that gets developed further, there'll be additional storm drains, things of that nature. I will say that their initial phases is focusing more on the other side. And starting with the easiest things kind of along the front and looking at road construction. Takes a little while to set the boundaries of those roads and streets at this front end and dealing with water course and all that kind of stuff right now. That's kind of where it is. But that is on the radar screen. It's just the first phase they're looking for is going to be in a different year.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to make sure we had it looked at, so.
Okay. Any other questions? Planning and compliance? No? Okay. We'll move next to the Department of Recreation and Tourism. Any? Councilor Dow?
Thank you, Richard. I just read that they gave a presentation to Arcadia and to MLA Wilson, and I wondered what the outcome of that was.
As far as that goes from our project, outcomes were positive, both supportive of the initiative. Of course, at this point, it's just planting seeds, so it's not necessarily coming with any specific robust asks, but yeah, both very supportive and positive so far.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Department of Corporate Services. Oh, Councilor Murdoch.
I apologize, I do have a question just for Dallas, just a quick one. If you don't.
Sure.
The fence along the back of how, what is the plans for that? I know that you're doing something, but.
Sure, so I reached out to Joe when someone purchased it a while ago, and he said, look, as soon as the ground's dried up, they're around the radar screen, they would be constructed and fixed. I assume it's on their radar screen to get to. I haven't gone by the last day or two, but I imagine as it's clearing up, it's on the work.
That makes sense, yeah. And it's gonna go fix all of those or just.
From what I understand, it was the portion that has been blown down by wind that was over. There's a spot, I believe, there's one house left on Howe, and it was right in behind that one. That was the spot I reached out to call Joe on mainly. What the integrity is, the rest of the fence either way, I'll leave that to Joe. It was just that section that I thought needed.
Thank you.
I got a question for you too, Dallas. The
Yes.
bear on Craig Street,
Sorry?
have you heard about the bear on Craig Street?
The bear? No,
Yeah,
I did not hear about the bear. I heard about a bear that 2 nights ago. I heard about a bear that climbed
a bird feeder.
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Second story.
well, this one on Craig Street, I think it's 24, 25 Craig Street, climbed the bird feeder.
I didn't hear anything about it or see any notices. Did anyone notice go around the Facebook message groups and?
Yeah, I was on someone posted on Facebook, and then they seen one sighted on another street too, I think, and so.
It's that time of year, but I mean, well, is it that time of year?
It is, yeah. That's what you said to me.
And it's a small bear, but it's not a baby cub, but it's a smaller bear, but. Yeah. So I gotta keep the dog on the leash over there in the Boy Scout Park, because that's where he's hanging out. All right, we'll move to Department of Corporate Services. Any questions or comments? None? Okay, go ahead for the Oromocto Fire Department. No concerns? Okay. We'll move to the Department of Engineering and Public Works. None? All right. We'll move to Department of Human Resources. None? Okay. Then we'll move to the clerk's office. No concerns, okay, the Department of Finance. Right? Yeah, I think is the end of it. Yes, it is. All right. Then we'll move on to administration. We'll start with the RCP quarterly report, West District. Staff Sergeant Escalera, he's not gonna be here today, so we got Corporal Jeff Erb here, so he's gonna take the floor.
Hello, everybody.
There.
You all have copies of it?
Yes.
Work, okay. Rather than bore you with going through a page to page, what questions do you have, what would you like to talk about? Or would you like me to go through page by page?
You can do whatever you want.
So right now, we're looking at check stops, community activities, which would be things like going to schools, interacting with the public in a positive manner. Crime prevention and education sessions, that's one of my favorite personally. Because we're currently in the early stages of development of a new habitual offender management program. I worked for 15 years in Alberta before I came here in August of 2022. And one of the big projects that I worked on and developed was our habitual offender management program. And what that is recognizing that it's a very small percentage of the population that commit the vast majority of the crime. And paying attention to those people drastically lowers the crime rate. 2017 in Minnesota, Alberta, first year we implemented this program, we were able to drop our crime rate to 27%. So we're gonna start doing that here. And what does that look like? It's essentially paying attention to the people that are out in the community that have enforceable conditions, things like curfews, ankle monitoring, any condition that we can enforce and monitor. If those people are in breach of those conditions, then we try to make an arrest and send them back to jail, thereby giving them less opportunity to commit crime. So that's in the early stages of development. We're also coming up with our summer plan to monitor the park systems in the town. So we're going to, the idea right now is we're going to assign each team who's going to have a park to maintain. And we'll be conducting negative patrols there to make sure that things are all set. So far we've had 800 or.
Council Charles.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. On that last point, I know it's a municipal park, but in the Lincoln Ward, we have a really commonly used space. I guess it's a shared provincial ground, private ground area, with Thatch Road, the Thatch Road boat launch.
Okay.
If that could be kind of considered as one of those areas, we get a lot of undesirable traffic down there in the evenings, and there's a lot of cars parked down where people walk on that private trail, so private land, I guess. There's a lot of issues with just the things you would expect at the dead end road at a site. So if that could be considered, that'd be great, because that's the nearest thing we kind of have to a park, I guess, but. I know it's not municipal ground, so, but that'd be a high traffic area if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it's not municipal ground, but it is within our town area, right? So it's a place that we would pay attention to. Perfect.
Yeah.
Very good.
Especially after the dog walkers walk their dogs, and then it gets to be the undercover people like all, so.
What are we dealing with in terms of reports? 804 occurrences reported to us so far. Only 26% of them have been criminal code and 74% of non-criminal code offenses. So getting a lot of property crime. That's 97 calls. Crimes against persons 56. Other criminal code offenses that you're
or driving or drug offenses, things like that. Traffic offenses, criminal code, so again, impaired driving or driving while suspended or prohibited, and then controlled driving substances act. I got ahead of myself. We had those stats on here, so other criminal code does not mean drugs. So our top 5 criminal code occurrence subtypes, theft under 5,000. Personally, I see a lot of liquor theft happening in our detachment areas, so that's a big one. Other criminal code and other violations involving violence or threats, we're at 31. Mischiefs, which is like vandalism, damaging property, or obstructing the lawful enjoyment of property, we're at 28. Assaults are at 20. So non-criminal code occurrences we're sitting at 237. And that could be anything from mental health to bylaws, to anything that's not captured within the criminal code is captured here. Non-criminal traffic, 219. I'm not sure, but I think every traffic stop we do, if a ticket or a warning is issued, it generates a file as well. So that's going to be captured in this as well, which seems like a high number, just means our numbers are out pulling cars over, writing warning tickets. Provincial statutes that are not criminal, or sorry, not traffic related, 89, and federal statutes that aren't criminal, 50. There's a bunch of subtypes for criminal codes. Traffic violations, criminal territorial, again, 152, that's just us going one people over. Non-criminal code offenses other, 137. 89 provincial statutes, 86 assistance files. We get a lot of calls for assistance from the military police and from correctional police, where they're asking us to go out and check on people or find people or check an address. And then other statutes are at 50. The next page deals with e-tickets, so e-ticketing, and it shows you where we're pulling people over. In reference to the heat map below, and the tickets and warnings that are being issued. So in January, we're writing tickets, 50. We have 7 warnings. February, 7 is the magic number again. 23 tickets are issued. March, 28 tickets and 16 warnings. So always kind of feeling a little bit more generous, I guess. Collisions. So quite a few. However, not that many injury collisions. So 5 in the last quarter. We did a lot of collisions around here. Let's say that.
Councilor Carr?
Related more like speed, or do you have any idea why that is? I mean,
That's a myriad of things. Is speed is one, distracted driving is another huge one. Try to prove it or not. Sometimes people are just looking at it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And one big thing I noticed too when I moved here from Alberta, the roads here are narrower and there's a lot more twists and turns. So you really have to pay attention to what you're doing when you're driving around here. Whereas out west, it's
it's all very large,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, knowledge to be had. Page 7 deals with our OCC and relation to emergency calls versus non-emergency calls. So 15% of the calls we received are emergency calls, which would be your 911s. Or someone may be calling the non-emergency line, but reporting an actual emergency, such as a domestic dispute or something like that.
Deputy Mayor Maloney?
Much back on page 5, the e-ticket.
Yes.
And it's called an e-ticket, not because you get it through email, but because the way that they're generated, it's electronic. I used to do what's called e-ticket. Now.
Yes, so it's generated in such a way that we can do it right on our computers and our cars. A lot faster process. Back in the day, we used to have to handwrite them and then write them, and they'd be on triplicate. And anyway, this is just a much more efficient way to capture the data.
Understand.
And it's readily available right away, instead of waiting for somebody to take those paper tickets and enter them into the system, now it's available right now. Which allows us to then pull the metrics.
Right. So my question on that, that was my, I guess, I'm glad you explained that. But when I look at this, I'm just trying to think of an average person who looks at those statistics. And they think of, in the entire area of Oromocto, all officers combined only wrote 23 tickets. That's not even one a day. It seems low, and I'm not advocating for more tickets for people, but I'm just simply saying that, you know, one of the complaints that we'll often get is people go fast on whatever street. And, you know, if you had that statistic to be able to say, well, no, I mean, they're out there, they're doing their thing, they're writing 5 tickets a day. I mean, it's not like they're not doing that. But you know, when you say that you've got less than 1 a day, I mean, I clearly see from this map which roads not to go on. I'm not going on the Nevers Road, and I'm not going on near the yeah. So my question is can you put in context in terms of that number? Because in February, it's very clearly, it's less than 1 a day. So, you know, at any given time you would have at least 2 or 3 officers on duty in the region, and I understand that mental health check is a couple of days, I understand that. How do you reconcile that, I guess is what I'm saying.
So these tickets, we don't have a dedicated traffic unit here. This is all general duty members that are going out, and this is when they're not responding to calls.
Okay.
And this really fluctuates depending on manpower.
Yeah.
So if I have 2 constables working, there's a good chance they're not gonna be out pulling cars over writing tickets. There's a really good chance that they're gonna be responding to calls all over the region.
Yeah.
So our area, our detachment patrols from Cambridge Narrows up to New Maryland. And we have all those communities to deal with, so a lot of driving, sometimes the manpower just isn't there.
But I think that's the explanation I was kind of looking for, in terms of the fact that we do not have dedicated traffic units. It's the same personnel that are working on the whole gamut, and it's when they're not on another call, they're able to do this other stuff as well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Page 7 deals with our OCC, our Operational Communication Center. We have one for the technically there's one in Moncton, but that only serves Moncton. Our OCC in Fredericton deals with the rest of the province, and that should be. We have our dispatched non-emergency and emergency calls, and then the call distributions. Pretty high number. Look at non-emergency calls, 50,649 versus emergency calls, 42,004. I don't know what the date range is for that, it's not written down here, but that seems very high. Conversation times on average 2 minutes, 26 seconds, and that's police fire was your emergency. This is what's happening, this is where it's at, okay, we'll get people rolling. If it's an emergency call, we dispatch right away, and we are rolling, generally speaking, within a minute. And depending on, of course, where the call comes in, is gonna dictate our driving time. Of course, weather also plays a factor in other environmental conditions, so. That's all I have, that's what I was providing you, I started in school today. I'm happy to answer any
Any questions, Council? I know at 3 o'clock and I was leaving here, they had a call and the fire department and the S&P were gone right there. Right away, bingo. But how many mental health calls do you get? Quite a few of them still in Oromocto?
Yeah, I can't give you an exact number, but I can say confidently that at least once a day, we're getting a mental health call.
Yeah.
So part of what we're trying to do is utilize the community resources that are available to us, like mobile crisis is a big one. When my members are going out to mental health calls, I want them contacting mobile crisis and bringing them on board because they have the type of training that we don't. Our job is emergency response, and preservation and protection of life. We're not counselors, we're not social workers, but these people are, so ultimately it's about giving the people that are in crisis the support that they need so that they can live full and healthy lives.
Yeah. I know, and it takes a lot of time and effort when you get them. It's sometimes up to, you could be there 6 hours with them at the deck.
That's right.
Counselor Carr?
Thank you, Rudy. And on page 7 is the average conversion time for the non-emergency, essentially cut down by 2 minutes last year or over the last year, so say between 24 and 25. Is that due to staffing? Is there some change in the system? Like it's pretty even across the board with 427 to 225, 442 to 2, like, you know, literally almost cut it in half, I guess. It's like, is there any idea if that was related to increased staffing or the way in which the calls are handled? Or, it's nice to see, obviously, but I'm just kind of curious why.
I think there was a bit of a shift in their way of doing business. So, for example, status updates, they check on us every 90 minutes, whether we need it or not. We're doing a lot of that on our computers now because our computers link to the OCC. So they dispatch our calls to us and we can clear ourselves rather than a dispatcher having to come on the air. Oh, where are you? Okay, yeah, fine, clear me. That all takes time. So we do a lot of this on our own now. They've also had a significant turnover rate. They've now got more people hired and things are looking pretty good there now.
How's it going with the cameras now?
So good. We had cameras when I was out west in our.
Oh, did you?
Our cars, our dash cameras, and they're phenomenal for evidence gathering, and these are even better because. Out west, I would get out of my car and you'd see me walk away, and the camera just stays there. You could hear what was happening, but now you can actually see what's happening. So I'm a huge advocate for body worn cameras. Most police forces in Canada and the United States have been using them for years, and I'm so glad that we have them now. And just great evidence, great for public complaints, and great for accountability and transparency.
Now, do you have to announce that you have them on?
You don't have to announce them, but as you can see.
It's quite noticeable, like.
Yeah, it is, like it's got a green flashing light, this by policy has to stay on.
Yeah.
If a person says, hey, are you recording? The answer is yes. Anytime I deal with the public, anytime any of my members deal with the public, this thing is on. They can say, oh, I don't want to be recorded. If we're dispatched to a complaint, then you will be recorded. Now, if I come to your house and it's like a neighborhood inquiry and looking to see if you have video surveillance or if you saw or heard anything, and you say, oh, I don't want to be recorded, okay. In that instance, I can turn it off. But
Right,
if I get dispatched out to a complaint, it's on until I'm done and I leave that call.
That's what makes
You know.
sense.
perfect. Any other questions, Council? All right, that's great, Jeff. Nice to meet you.
Careful, that clock, any questions?
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll move to 5B, the annual municipal services agreement, Indigenous Services Canada, and you're doing that, John? Okay.
I am, yeah, thank you, your worship. This one is a pretty straightforward annual agreement. We get this one every year. Essentially, it's just our agreement for the services we provide to the Oromocto First Nations. And so we're just looking to get an approval to sign that. Again, no real risk here per se. Usually how it works is we effectively kind of start with last year's number, but we have a structure whereby at the end of the year we'll tally up and provide them our data, and they will just simply pay the bill. With that, your worship, we're just looking for a resolution on Thursday to enter into the agreement for the next year.
Any questions, Council? There's no, oh, Councilor Dunn?
No changes. I read it.
Yeah.
And all we really want to know is that last page, by the way. So, out of curiosity, as you know, my mind works. Have we ever had to give back money? Because it says we make an estimate and.
No, we haven't. That's why we felt it's easy to start with last year's number, because as everyone knows, I mean, prices continue to go up, even if it's just even if you do the same work with the same amount of material, you're still gonna see an increase, so. This way, we're not necessarily in a situation where I'm trying to read the crystal ball, charge too much and then have to give it back. So we start usually with last year's number and then they'll top it up accordingly once we actually have the data.
And one follow-up question is that it also stipulates that the services we're providing is for the residents only in non-commercial markets. And I smiled because I thought, well, we're plowing in all around there. It's going to affect the commercial people like the gas bar and all the other little pop-ups, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's the templated language of the agreement. There's no doubt that you can't really split the hairs when you're plowing streets between residential and commercial or, you know, that sort of thing, but it's primarily, I guess, designed in a similar way to demonstrate value for money to the residents there, similar to what we would do with our own.
Just quite an interesting read.
Yeah.
Questions? Okay. We'll go to 5D, the 224 annual report. Is there any questions on that? No, we're not. I'm sorry. We're going to the attendance award, asphalt resurfacing and concrete curbing. Questions? I would like to know, how much Northern Construction bid? How much?
That's something, your worship, that if you'd like to take that into a closed session. I'd be
Okay, we'll
glad
do
to
that.
But, for purposes of open, obviously, the reports in front of folks and, who, you know, everyone's been allowed to bid on the tender accordingly. We did change our tender this year. And so we were, you know, pleased to have 4 groups actually bid, and so and of course after vetting the lowest bid, obviously Hogan paving was that, and we're certainly willing and happy to have them back. So hopefully if council's amenable, they'll say yes on Thursday night.
I think that's a warm and fuzzy. Okay. Now we'll go to 5D, the 224 Town of Oromocto annual report. You all have the report. If there's any questions or concerns on it, Million might be able to help you. And Cindy did most of that, but she's not there, so.
Yeah, I mean, your worship, again, this is really just put in front of council for their review, you know, just month over or year over year. If there's any questions, comments as to either the look or content, there's still some time for us to consider and make changes, amendments before we put the final touches on the report and send it into the Department of Environment, local government.
Righto. All right, then we'll go to 5E, the 17th of April 2025 draft of regular session minutes are before you. If there's any errors or omissions, please let Cynthia know right away. And on that note, now I'll call for a mover for an adjournment. Councillor Daw, seconded, Councillor Kirkbride. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried.